I'm Jace Lacob, and you're listening to Masterpiece Studio. Murder, kidnapping, blackmail. Just a few of the litany of crimes investigated by Eliza Scarlet and William Wellington, aka the Duke. Crimes that were only solved thanks to the quick thinking and some rather unorthodox sleuthing by our title characters, helping to keep the streets of Victorian-era London a little less dangerous.
Well, I did suspect an imposter, but I didn't know about the other wand.
The other wand?
Found it on the magician when I examined his body.
They're identical.
On the face of it, yes. Noticed that the handle wasn't quite aligned. And inside was this.
For 4 seasons, Miss Scarlet and the Duke has kept us on the edge of our seats, riveted not only by the serpentine mysteries that the duo has solved, but also by the dynamic between these two, a rapport that goes beyond mere professionalism.
I'm sorry. I don't...
Eliza, I assume she is the reason you're late?
She was working the same case as me, yes. But it's no...
William, you talk of her incessantly. The things she says and does. Her triumphs and disasters. Of course, you claim she vexes you so and causes you nothing but trouble, but the truth is there for all to see.
My relationship with Eliza is purely one of friendship.
You are in love with her.
But nothing lasts forever. And by the 4th episode of Season 4, Eliza and William's relationship is forever changed. If you haven't yet watched Season 4, Episode 4 of Miss Scarlet and the Duke, stop what you're doing and watch it before listening to what follows, because we're about to discuss that transformation in depth. Suitably warned, let's proceed.
Where are you going? You're not well enough to go home yet.
I'm not going home. I've been to see the super, and he's agreed. I'm going to New York. Taking the secondment.
For a year?
For a year.
What will the Duke's departure mean for the show going forward? For Eliza? Today, we get some answers. Stuart Martin, who has played William Wellington for the past 4 seasons, will not be returning as the Duke for a 5th season. But that's not the end for Miss Scarlet. Far from it. In this episode, we talk with actor Stuart Martin and writers Rachael New and Ben Edwards about this momentous shift and what lies ahead for the future of the show. We are back again this week with Miss Scarlet and the Duke's star, Stuart Martin. Welcome.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Long time no speak.
Yeah. So, big elephant in the room time. This elephant's wearing a bowler hat. How did you come to the decision that Series 4 of Miss Scarlet and the Duke would be your last?
It was very tough. It was very, very tough. I think there's time there's a place to tell different stories. I think for Eliza, to see what that is like without Duke, to kind of allow her to be held back by Duke.
And Wellington, he's in 4 episodes of Series 4, and I believe these are the first in which you're credited as well as an executive producer. How much input, if any, did you have about the way in which Wellington would be written out of the show?
I think when we first sort of broached it, my feeling was that we need to kind of see them get together. It's at that stage where we want to see them get together. So I had written to Rachael and said, I think in having his departure, you allow them to get together, which is what we all want. And I think staying in the show or staying part of the story, you can never quite allow that. Or they get together and then there's always you're going to have to pull them apart, or they become sort of married, bickering couple. And I felt too strongly about the characters, I think, to sort of, although Rach and Ben would have done that so much better than I could ever imagine. But I think there's something interesting in, if you're going to carry on and do another couple of wonderful seasons, is to sort of just mix it up a little bit and pull the Duke out of that allow other stories, allow other kind of conflicts. So yeah, my feeling was that there's something really interesting in him leaving, but also where you get to with that, you get to nail it. You get to kind of put it all on the line, really. And we get to see them get to a moment that they probably wouldn't get to if you were going to continue, or certainly you'd have to pull them back from it.
I mean, one of the things I like is, as it's written, Wellington's departure from the show manages to be somehow both tragic and heroic at the same time. And there's an element of altruism about his journey to America, in that he and Eliza can both follow their dreams and he's not standing in her way. Do you see his decision as being ultimately altruistic? Is it an act of selfless love for him to take this secondment?
That's such a good question. I've never thought about that. It's very nice you say it's heroic, but I also kind of recognize that in myself of like, are you just running away? And that's not to say that that's a cowardly act, but are you taking yourself out of the situation? Because actually you can't quite handle it. And I think it kind of is. He's not running away, but he's kind of begging to be pulled back from it, I think. I think the scenario that he sees in his head of how they could be together is kind of very clear, but it's not quite there. And that's what he recognizes, that it's never really going to get there. But I mean, I think he believes that she can still be amazing, do her job, and that they can have a balanced life together. And I think he would be willing to completely kind of, I don't think he would see it as compromise, but change his profession, somehow work this out. But I think we see in 4 and kind of throughout that he doesn't see that that she would really be able to compromise too much.
Actors will often take something from the set to remember production. It becomes almost sort of talismanic in a way. Did you take anything with you from Miss Scarlet?
No, and I should have.
You didn't take the hat? Oh, I would have taken
Do you know what? It was like the hat is an expensive piece. There's only one of them. You can't take that with you. I'm trying to think. I wish I'd taken my watch. You know, I had that watch for 4 seasons.
Tie pin, something.
I know.
Now, I know you had to do ADR, so you had to come back a little bit to sort of finish some stuff up. But I am wondering what went through your head when they said, that's a series wrap for Stuart Martin. What sort of emotions were you experiencing on that final day?
It feels such a silly thing to do in a way, you know, because you're going, God, I love this show. I love everything about it. I continually love every script and every line that comes in. But it really did feel like the right thing, I think, for the longevity of the show. So, yeah, I remember I watched the scene the other day, actually, really, I think it's in episode 1. My last scene was in the morgue with lovely Simon. He's just brilliant. I love him. And it was in there. And it was so lovely. Everyone came in. And I'm a terrible, terrible, nervous speech maker. I get anxiety about it. I get a hot head. My ears go bright red. I hate it. And for some reason, I thought I'm gonna say some words, because I couldn't not just say thank you to the amazing crew and everyone out there. I don't quite know what I said. It wasn't a speech, but I think I said thank you. It's such a wonderful family.
Okay, so I found an interview you did before Jamestown launched, and you recounted a teacher at Langside College telling you he didn't think you were into acting and you should, quote, think about doing something else.
Yeah.
Do you still think about that conversation at all? And did it spur you on?
Oh, God, yeah, it did. I mean, it did. Because you believe it, don't you? And I think those conversations probably happen throughout your life, really. And they continue to kind of happen. You know, every time you don't get a job, you can kind of feel like that. There's only so much kind of your own confidence that you can have, you know, and there's periods where you go up for loads of things and you might get very close, or you might get feedback, or you might get none, but then you still don't get it. You know, there isn't that kind of affirmation, is that the right word, of, oh, you know, you should do this. you're all right at this. You're going to be able to provide from your family and continue doing what you're doing. So I feel like you kind of have that conversation all the time. Or when a review comes in, or when one of your mates says something, I think TV can be so, it's in everyone's home. It's kind of beamed in, so everyone's got an opinion on it, whether that's, positive or negative, they'll kind of tell you. And that was the amazing thing about Scarlet, was it was kind of universally, or it was really loved by this brilliant fan base with the Scarleteers. They were just such warm, lovely fans who got as passionate about it as you did. And over the last 4 or 5 years, they've kind of stuck with it and had really interesting conversations about it. And that is kind of, to answer your question, you're kind of constantly told that anyway. So it is a great training. But you know what? You'll kind of be told that in any profession. And any kind of time that you start thinking, oh, maybe I should, no, maybe it's too much. That's just the reality of our profession and a lot of professions. But I think in that moment, I certainly came away from it going, well, this is what I'm going to do. And these are the reasons why. You have to sort of drill down on what your reasons are. If you can't find those reasons, maybe it's not for you, and that's all right. And that person probably wasn't being particularly unkind or malice. They were just kind of spotting something. But luckily I could go, well, no, it is actually. And these are the reasons why. And I think throughout any kind of hard moments, I can always kind of find the thing that I love about it. And the funny thing was that I kind of realized actually this last year that really, it sounds so a bit cliche, but I drilled down to it being storytelling. And I never thought it was that. I always thought, oh, I like this part. I like the thing of play. And then I kind of drilled it down and I was like, oh, it's storytelling. When I was a kid, I used to love playing games and imagination and not necessarily telling stories, but having those stories for myself. So that's been an interesting thing over the last couple of years to go, right, the storytelling is what I kind of am really passionate about. So you always drill down to that.
So then it does beg the question, what do you ultimately, and this is a big question, what do you ultimately take away from your experience on Miss Scarlet and the Duke? What sort of memories will you hold particularly close to you?
Oh, I mean, wow, I almost choked up there. Well, I did choke up, I almost cried there. I think it's, do you know what I have to say, Rachael kind of taking a chance on me and really backing me. And, from my point of view, approaching the whole process differently. But what I loved about Rachael was we went and met. Kate was obviously already on board, and we went and met in a restaurant in Soho. I think 3 of us all together, and I just went in and I didn't read, we chatted. She had looked at my stuff and she looked at everyone's stuff and she knew what everyone had done, and that's why she called us in. And I loved the fact that it was just like, yep, I like Stuart, he's the Duke. And she just backed that against kind of everyone. And it was brilliant. And it's always kind of gone, oh, that's the kind of the way you do it. She's amazing. And against everything, she sort of went, that's our Duke. That's who we want. And I'm always sort of appreciative that she backed that and she took a chance. And it's kind of performed like such a beautiful 4 years of my life. And kind of there's this whole world that we have now of this, however many episodes we've done, that feel like they will always be part of my life. It feels much bigger than series I've done a couple of series of in the past. I feel very linked to that world and that show. And it kind of follows you, I'm over in the States and I'll meet someone and they'll come up to me and say how much they love the show. And that is such a lovely thing. And it's a really nice thing as an actor to sort of, as you say about that conversation where someone asks you, maybe we shouldn't do this. You can always kind of jump back to that in your head in the low moments and go, well, I did that. And, yeah. So
for fans of Miss Scarlet and the Duke, for those Scarleteers who may be crushed to learn that Wellington won't be back, what would you say to them?
I would just thank them for that kind of, with that support and that love that they've given the show and also the characters and that they've given Duke. And I think that where we get to go in season 4, I loved, because it feels very honest, and it feels honest to the show, and it feels honest to the fans. We get to go there with them, and hopefully still kind of really keep them entertained up to that moment. And then kind of going into other seasons, really continue to keep them entertained and keep the drama there. And I think that was kind of the intention with it. So hopefully they don't hate me, but they also see that I think it's kind of a thing that can hopefully give it the potential to continue to have that drama that they fell in love with.
Stuart Martin, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
We'll take a short break to hear a word from our sponsors, and when we return, we'll hear from writers Rachael New and Ben Edwards as they address the future direction of the show without the Duke. Ocean voyages, expeditions, river journeys. Viking is dedicated to bringing travelers closer to the destination, offering a small ship experience and a shore excursion in every port. Learn more at Viking.com. Okay, so it seems clear Stuart Martin won't be returning to Miss Scarlet and the Duke. Stuart only appears in a handful of episodes in Series 4 before William is seconded to New York. What sort of conversations did you have with Stuart ahead of time about how his character's departure would be handled?
Well, this wasn't something that we did lightly, but it actually came from Stuart himself. He felt that he'd taken the character as far as he could go, and that this would be the natural point for Duke to leave. So we kind of just embraced it really as much as possible, and absolutely see his point that Eliza and Duke's lives they couldn't make the sacrifices they needed to be together. They admitted they love each other, but it probably wasn't going to work. So we shipped him off to New York. It seemed like the best journey for him to go and explore a different world. And it leaves Eliza to explore a different Dukeless world. As writers, obviously you miss your big main characters, but it's always something that, a challenge is good. A challenge keeps things fresh, and we're pretty good at embracing any changes. So we just went with it and said, right, okay, this is where we're at, and we're going to go for it.
In the spirit of Eliza herself.
Exactly.
William is shot in episode 2. He recovers in episode 3, departs in 4. Was there any thought or consideration given whether to kill off the character rather than send him to New York? Or did you want to leave the door open even just slightly for a possible return?
Yeah, I don't think we ever talked about killing him off, because we just thought, it would be too final, too cruel for Eliza, for the audience, and quite frankly would limit our options for the show going forward, I think. But at this point in their lives, I think Duke and Eliza aren't ready to be together.
Stuart's departure begs the question, do you retitle the show without the Duke? Does that new signage for Eliza Scarlet, Private Investigator, perhaps point towards a new title?
Yes, absolutely. It will be called Miss Scarlet onwards.
And are you concerned at all by how viewers will react to the departure of both Stuart and the Duke himself?
I mean, inevitably, that will be a factor. But I suppose in terms of the stories we'll tell, Eliza is still the only female detective in London. She still has to prove herself to a world of 19th century men, but now without an ally at Scotland Yard. So her life has got harder in that respect. But there's still crimes to solve, a business to rebuild, new relationships to forge. There's a lot of other characters, both existing and new, that we're going to bring in. So from our point of view, we're excited about it. We hope the audience will go with us on the journey, really.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, this is a feminist show. It's about a woman's survival. And there's something actually really quite poignant and, I don't know, something that people can relate to, which is things don't work out sometimes. And it's about her picking herself up and dusting herself down and getting on with her life and making the best of things. And I think it fits perfectly with the Eliza we know and love in terms of her character. So it's another arrow that's been slung at her, but she does prevail. And I think that's very, very much in keeping with the themes of the show. And that's why the fans love it so much.
I mean, as much as viewers might mourn the loss of Wellington and Stuart Martin, I feel like this is an opportunity as writers to take the show into unexpected territory. Does it excite you to be able to reconfigure the show in some way, to embrace that feminist aspect that you mentioned and push Eliza in a different direction?
Absolutely. When you're writing, sometimes you want those obstacles. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. Otherwise, things get pretty dull. And this was something that we did embrace. And it has taken us to lots of different stories to explore for her. So yeah, it was exciting. It really was very exciting.
So Miss Scarlet will return for a 5th series. I mean, as vague as you can be, what can you tease about where we might then find Eliza when we pick it back up with her?
I can say that, as I said, it was a very exciting season to write. I think we push Eliza to her limits. We have some really beautiful storylines. There's new friendships to be forged for her. We pull Clarence through a little more, which has been super fun. We were so delighted with Paul bringing life to Clarence. I think it's just brought a whole other aspect to the show. And we explore the other characters more, Potts and Ivy, Fitzroy and Phelps. They make such a cracking partnership. We explore that as well. So I really think, and I really, really hope that this season is going to go down very well, because I think it's a really beautiful season.
Well, I can't wait. Rachael New and Ben Edwards, thank you so very much.
Thank you. Great to speak to you.
Pleasure. Thank you, Jace.
Next time, our double feature spring season begins as we investigate a behind-the-scenes real-life soap opera drama and the emotional highs and lows of a romance over 15 years.
Congratulations. You're the first woman in the world to appear on colour TV. I'm sorry. I'm forgetting my manners. I should have said. I'm John Logie Baird. Who are you?
Noel. My name's Noel Gordon. People call me Nolly.
The series premieres of Nolly, followed by Alice and Jack, begins Sunday, March 17th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Masterpiece Studio is hosted by me, Jace Lacob, produced by Jack Pombriant, and edited by Robin Bissett. Alicia Etup is our sound designer. The executive producer for Masterpiece is Suzanne Simpson.